just in case you're wondering, I found something else that's our fault in the papers today. I thought it was an April Fool. Apparently it's not. I mean, these sort of stories should be April Fools. But apparently, according to a leading historian, an emeritus professor at Oxford University, Dermot McCulloch, no less, Muslims learnt homophobia from the British Empire and said a horror of same-sex relationships, his words, did not exist in Islamic culture before the 19th century. It was only when the British Empire expanded across the Muslim world, he claims, that Islam absorbed homophobia from British colonial armies. Of course, one of the things we have seen in recent years at polling of people of different ethnic minorities and different religious minorities is that among many mainstream Muslims in this country, their views on homosexuality are kind of in the same territory as people's views, the mainstream community's views back in 1950. Very different from the views of the majority of people in this country. But it's our fault, apparently. Well, let's talk about this with religious commentator Mayuran Senthilnathan, who joins us now. Good afternoon to you, Mayuran.
Good afternoon, Julia. Good to be with you.
I'm wondering if there is anything that isn't the fault of the British Empire, although no one seems to ever remember the good things we did, like, I don't know, Industrial Revolution and things like that. But, I mean, he's an emeritus professor at Oxford University, probably knows more about these things certainly than I do. But did we export homophobia? Is it a Western creation?
No, I mean, what we've seen activist judges in play when it comes to these immigration cases, and these are activist academics that we're seeing now. And I think what the professor's done is he's stumbled across some Arab poets who have been talking about sort of same-sex relationships and romanticizing that. And then he's made a huge leap to say this is what Islam was before the colonial period. And if we look at the Quran, you know, there is a verse, particularly in chapter 7, which talks about condemning homosexuality. We have the Hadith, which sayings from the Prophet, which condemn homosexuality. There are numerous scholars stretching from the medieval time to date now, which condemn homosexuality.
As there are in pretty much every religious text for pretty much every religion.
Exactly.
This was the norm in most societies, and still is the norm in many societies around the world. I mean, certainly, you know, even in our country until not that long ago.
Yeah, and I think what this professor thinks is he thinks that he's somehow saving the Muslim community from the stigma of homophobia. But I don't think he has his finger on the pulse. So I think if you were to, I'm speculating, but I think if you could ask most Muslims, they would be appalled at what this professor is proposing. They are quite traditional. Most Muslims are quite traditional and they're quite conservative. And they believe that it is the right thing. And it is mandated by their religion that to engage in same-sex relationships is actually wrong. So they would disagree with this professor. And he thinks he's being their saviour, but I don't think they want a saviour.
Yeah, it is absolutely fascinating when we see certainly in the woke left this, you know, this hierarchy of victims and of values and things, when they do clash. And if you're going to sort of put, oh, well, Muslims must be in this category, or brown people who may have been Muslim based must be in this category. But obviously we champion gay rights as part of being a liberal democracy. And when those two things clash, well, who do we blame then, and who's at fault then? Instead of accepting that, well, you know, I feel very strongly about gay people having equal rights with straight people, but I also completely, and I'm also an atheist, but I'm also happy to accept that people may have different views and are entitled to them for whether religious or any other reason.
Yeah, I think in your earlier part, you hit an nail on the head. I think what's happening is we're racializing religion. So Islam has become synonymous with the brown person. Christianity has become synonymous with the white person. And what we see in the mindset of some of these academics that we're discussing is that the brown person is inherently right and pure. And if there's any kind of toxicity or awkwardness in the brown person, it must have come from the white person. So therefore, it has been implanted in them by the colonial British Empire into Islam. It's not actually in Islam itself.
It's very patronising, isn't it? It really is extraordinarily patronising, especially as this is a cultural thing pretty much across the world from all cultures. What do you think? I mean, why do you think people... I mean, he's obviously a clever bloke. You're not an emeritus professor at one of the top universities in the world. And why do you think he's claiming this?
I don't know, Julia. I've often wondered the same thing. I've been reflecting on it for a long, long time, especially like I said, when you see these ECHR cases and these activist judges, you see Lord Hermer and so on, you know, selling off the Chagall silence. What is it in the mindset that they hate this country so much, they wish its destruction? Yeah. I don't understand that psychology. I've been pondering it a long time. I just don't get it.
No, I don't either. I can't make sense of it. Mayuran Senthilnathan, religious commentator, thank you so